Welcome to the First Class Agers, the podcast for curious, fun-loving agers. I'm Marlene Nix, and this with me is
Ido Laufer, and we are very happy that you are listening to us. Today, we are hosting Dr. Brent Calhoun, who loves helping stroke thrivers, which is survivors who want to be thriving, to have less pain and be more successful doing their stroke recovery. Hello, Dr. Calhoun. Brent, how are you?
Perfect. How are you?
Great.
I'm
so happy for you to be with us.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Marlene and Ido. It's fun.
Could you, I know why I invited you, but would you like to tell us why I invited you? Because we are dealing with agers, and I think you have so much to donate, to give to our audience.
Sure. I'm a veterinarian, and I was in my career when these two strokes snuck up on me, and they derailed me, and I thought they just gave me a temporary derailment, but after a year of working and attempting to get back to my job, it was clear that I was not going to be. So I retired, and then I needed to find something. Well, I need to find something more for my purpose. For my calling.
How long ago was it that you started?
I was 50 years young, and it was in 2010 in January.
Okay, so very young, very, very young.
Well, it was funny, ironic, because I didn't believe I had a stroke. So when I finally got into the emergency room and the doctor told me I had a stroke, I thought it was crazy, or it was maybe he mistook me for somebody else in the ER room. So it took a while to to grasp or put my brain all around what had happened. And of course, 2 days later, I had the other major stroke. It was sending my head for spinning. And it took me about a week or two to grasp that this was my new life. And I wrote a program to expand upon these concepts. And one of mine is the grieving. And a lot of times people, when they have a stroke, don't ever really accept that they have a stroke, and they're stuck.
Can I ask you what were the physical symptoms that you felt and if it was when the stroke stopped, did it stop or does it follow you till today?
The side effects still affect me. Now I like to say I have an accent because my voice is different than it was before the strokes, and the side effects on my right side of my body are still with me. In fact, I don't think you can show or see, but if you looked at a close-up of my face, you would see my right side looks like I got Botox because it doesn't have as many wrinkles, and the left side has wrinkles. And I would joke a lot of times. I got the Botox, and so there still are side effects, and I'll keep working till I die. about trying to rectify how they impact my life.
So how long did it take you to find your calling, your new calling, to help people?
Well, that was when I decided that I was going to retire from my veterinary career. I was lost, and I kept looking for my new purpose or my new calling. But I tried a bunch of things, but they didn't seem to work. And then it was triggered. Well, when I was still active with a group that met monthly in my area for veterinary business owners. And so one of the other owners or business owners had branched off, and she had become a life coach. And she was still doing her practice, but she did a life coach on the side. And so she had a podcast every week telling about other people and what they were doing. And she kept bugging me every month. Hey, you'd be a great guest if you come on my podcast. And I would say, no, with this aphasia, people wouldn't want to hear me. They would want me to search on the air why I try to find the words or they can't understand with my accent. So after I think 8 or 10 months, I often say, I feel like Tony Robbins, the renowned life strategist, was in my head, and he said, yes, do it. And so I finally said, all right, I'm going to do it. And I had a blast. And I realized two things. I was leaning back. I was protecting the aphasia, and I'm naturally an introvert. So, and the other thing, I realized lots of other people want to see my example, or they want to hear my example, or they want to feel my example because they have the same issues or similar issues, but they don't push beyond that. And I'm there. I found my calling, because for them, I can help them be more.
I think you brought up a very good point here, that a positive attitude is such a powerful tool. And with the positivity, you gain such strength that it renews the energy and you feel younger. You're more enthusiastic. And the curiosity also is a great impetus to say, look, I'm going to try this, and it's working, and it makes you feel good. It's the same thing, I think, when you talk about, you said something about mindfulness. If you think about things, don't ponder, get going and do it. There's a time in life where you say to yourself, 50 years old is a young man. He still has many years to go. Well, just do it. Go ahead and do it. And then you feel good.
Yes.
For sure. I know I've been there and done that too. And I still get frustrated when my balance is not as good as I'm trying so as hard as I can. And then I say to myself, okay, so it wasn't 5 minutes. You did it for 4 minutes. Keep going, keep trying, and keep improving.
That's awesome.
It's a matter of attitude. This is what it is.
Yes. Yes. It's wonderful to hear your attitude. I often will go on to Facebook in several stroke groups, and some of the people that will type their post, they're hurting and they're lots of side effects of the stroke. And but there, Paul, there's like 3 labels that people use for themselves or the people around them use for them, and they call them victims, survivors, and thrivers. And the victims, I often say, are like on a cruise ship, then it sank like the Titanic.
Yes.
And people, there are 3 groups of people. The people that were victims decided, I'm going down. They just didn't fight or try. So they sunk. And then the people that would tread water, but don't really do anything else, but just until they ran out of energy, they were the survivors. And the thrivers would look around themselves and they would see a light in the distance and they would just start swimming. Right. And they didn't know they would ever get through that, but they knew that it was better than where they were now. And I'm attempting to help people that are stroke survivors strive to reach for more. And but a lot of people which had a stroke are in pain, physical or mental pain. And I deal with that because often you need to, I want to help them understand that the pain is part of them, but they can still do more and focus on others than just focus on their pain. And it helps when they choose to do more.
You know, Brent, you brought up a very important point here again. When you talk about pain, if a person is challenged, that pain becomes part of the challenge. Recognize it and say, okay, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to get over this. It's going to hurt, but it may hurt less because I'm trying. The minute you give up, that pain overwhelms you. But if you try to work with it, in the same way, I see exercising as such an important part of daily living that it becomes a habit. And the same thing with your message. By helping, you were stronger and you went through the process, and you're helping others to feel stronger because they're overcoming this obstacle of pain.
Yes.
Definitely.
And people, when they're in their groups, often they would just totally focus on their pain. And I only see a snippet of their life, but I imagine their life is not so good if they're focusing on their pain all the time, or the most of the time.
The good thing about being in a group, the group works miracles. In what way? Because you have the strength of the dynamics. You compete, you differentiate, you identify, and the group gives you strength. Look, I'm part of a group. I've made a commitment. And I saw it in the Zoom meetings that we had. We didn't see each other, the other participants doing the work, but we listened when we received instructions. And then when we heard that this person did it successfully, then you say to yourself, well, I have to compete with myself, and you try. And that's the beauty of the group.
Right. And I will often comment when somebody is writing that they're in a lot of pain. I will say I'm so grateful that you feel well enough to tell others in the group what your pain is. And I said, that's important. And and often the comments I will get back will be, thank you.
It's a relief. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Very
Also, I
good.
think when we suffer pain, it's a good example that when we break our leg, it is extremely painful.
It is.
But with this pain, there are ups and downs. It's not at the peak of the pain all the time. You have peaks of pain and you have lesser pains, and it's something that you are not in pain all the time. You are, or not the same pain all the time. And then if you decide to concentrate on this pain, so it only increases the pain. But if you are focusing on something else, so it can help you to relieve the pain, or it helps you a little bit to overcome it, to overcome the hardship.
I'd like to ask you a question because I think this is part of it. And part of what you're saying, Guido, the word change. When did you feel when you said you floundered and you were searching and trying and thinking, when did you say to yourself, this is a time for change and I'm going through it? And you did find the way. What was the moment that you said, okay, I've got it. Now I know which direction I want to move into?
That's a great question, Marlene. It was when I was taking part of the challenge from Dean and Tony, and I realized, you know what? I could take my experience in my stroke recovery and help others.
Fantastic.
And Dean and Tony showed me how I could do that.
Wonderful.
And
yes,
It became a tool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And can you please share with us in your program, because we are here because we believe it is so important for others to know that you have a program in order to help others. Can you share with us at least the headlines of your program, what it is about? How can you overcome, and how can you be a thriver?
When I wrote my thoughts on the paper, roughly 140 pages later, I realized I focused on 4 areas. The person's attitude or mindset, as some people call. Often I have found that people in the stroke recovery groups really wasn't recovering because they were stuck on their what had happened, and they didn't realize life went on, but it didn't. They weren't letting it go on. So that's important. The attitude. The second is the physical arena, or that is where most of the stroke recovery focuses on. And I talk about that extensively. And the third is the emotional area. And that's an area which really gets short-shifted. When they go through the stroke recovery, they talk a little bit about it, but it really has an equal importance to the physical arena is the emotional area. And the last, the fourth area is the mental skills. And I talk about 5 areas mostly, but I also take some time and talk about goal setting. But probably the most is they talk about cognitive insufficiency. But most people say, what does they mean? What do they mean by that? So I break that down and I talk about the areas. But memory gets a lot of publicity, so to speak, because people can notice if you don't remember everything which you used to do. But
how long is this program? Does it
are
they staying with you for a week, or it's only recorded? How do you pass on all the information, all the knowledge that you have?
Well, right now it's a written course. They get that and they work through it self-paced. But they can also, I have another program where I take them through 13 weeks, and that is more intensive of the study and the experiential work.
So people can choose between the written course and the 13 intensive weeks?
Correct.
Wow.
You work with a team or just solo?
Right now, I'm working with myself, but of course, as I expand, I will have others come on.
Mm-hmm.
And may I ask about your daily routine? How long does it take you every day to improve your life and to make yourself feel better? How long does it take this practice, the self-practice?
It can take about a half hour, but I could work as little as 5 minutes, as much as 2 hours. So it depends. I'm grateful that my mental attitude is pretty good, and I don't have to work on it as much as I can my physical and my mental abilities. And so attitude and emotional abilities, I've worked on them in the past. So right now I don't spend as much time on them.
And there is a question that rises always with aging and with capabilities that we lose, which is the shame. I think it's something that everybody has to overcome in order to thrive. So do you feel the same? Do you have tools for it?
Shame can get us stuck, and unless we will address that shame, we'll stay stuck, and we'll find lots of reasons why we can't thrive. And it's important if we can acknowledge and get with others and tell them about our issues. We're always stronger when we tell others we trust.
And when you meet the customers that used to come to you to your clinic, do you immediately tell them, I'm from 2 strokes and now I had to shut down? Do you tell them your whole story, or you just act as normally as?
I'm very straightforward and transparent. So I tell, in fact, I will find when I meet somebody and they won't ask me about my situation. I often will, if it's appropriate, I will just tell them about it. Because if it isn't, I can tell there's something holding us back. Because it's obvious that there's something unusual about me. And if they don't ask about it, it always, it's like the white elephant in the room that nobody wants to mention.
And then when you do tell them, so the conversation shifts and then it.
Yes.
Yeah. Immediately you notice the difference.
Yes, I do. So that's why I'm forthcoming and very clear about talking about it. And because I realize maybe they can be helped by what I share with them.
You know what? It's interesting because you're young and when it happened to you, what age groups have you been in touch with? This interests me as an older person because there's a lot, I hope I explain this clearly. There's a lot of ageism prejudice. Well, old people have strokes, but young people are in danger of strokes. What does a young person feel? He doesn't feel old. He's put in a category as old because he had a stroke. I mean, it's nonsense, but we know that. The fact is, who do you meet and who have you had experience with? The younger people, because these people are in danger, 50 to 60, the same way with falling. I hear too much about the old people falling. What about the people in their 60s? They're young. What about the people in their 70s? Do you feel young or you feel used, old? You're a stroke victim. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Only when you've aged can you understand it. This is why I felt when Ido told me about the podcast, I said, I would love to do it just to have some influence for the older people and for the younger people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you want to get the word out and
exactly.
Trumpet what your concepts are, because many people have not ever considered that, and they said, "Oh, maybe I will." I know that Ido's program is important for really everybody to take advantage of, and because it's right, as we age or get older, our balance can be compromised, and unless we know how we can challenge it, then we often, which Ido says in his program, they get less capabilities as they age. That's how they feel old, is because they're now less capable of doing what they used to do. For example, I was at a funeral of a veterinarian, and I saw some of my classmates from veterinary school there, and I was talking with them, and they're really avid skiers, snow skiing, and they were talking about it, and I said, "That's great. I'm holding on to my belief that someday I will ski again, because I used to love to ski." And I saw they liked that I held on to that goal, and the medical profession is having so many breakthroughs. So I know that maybe I can't do it conventional way, which I have attempted to do, but stem cells, who knows? They'll find my mind gets boggled when I watch what they're doing right now. So within 5 years, who knows what they'll be able to do? So then I'll ski.
And
again.
Good for you.
I'm sure you'll be able to ski. Maybe not the black slopes, but to have them, the activity creates our, I would say, creates our identity. Because if you feel like a skier, and you go ski, it doesn't mean that you need to do the slopes that you did before, but you just participate. You put on the clothes, you put on your skiing, you just play with the snow a little bit. Doesn't have to be too fast. Doesn't have to be too steep. Just to have the feeling, just to be a skier. And I think this identity is so important. For me, it's as a surfer, I still surf in big storms, but I can feel that my muscles, I can take 3 big waves, because then just to go back and pass the waves again, I don't have the enough strength and the breath for it. But it doesn't matter. As long as I catch my 1, 2, 3 heavy storms waves, it's enough, because I've done it. I keep fighting in the storms. I keep doing it. And this is what is important, to participate and to do. We're competing always with ourselves. If I have the mission to be a surfer, I believe that I will be a surfer for at least till I'm 80. This is my mission now. And then I'll have a better mission. But this is it. So I'm sure that you will ski. I have no doubt about it.
Yes. And I love holding on to these dreams. They're important. And I really think you touched on the identity. And I talk about that in the third, the emotional arena, because when we go through a stroke, we lose our old identity. And some people, a lot of people that are struggling in the stroke groups still don't realize that it happened, and they're still trying to get a hold of what their old identity was. And it's important that they get a new identity. And there was a professor at Stanford University in California in the United States that had a stroke, and she is active about calling out us, or the stroke recovery community, to realize that identity has changed, and it's important that they get the emotional support till they embrace their new identity.
And how does one reinvent himself or herself? How do you, I think it's so hard even to imagine, because we are so in touch with ourselves, with our identity. So to change, how do you physically do it? What do you need to think about?
Well, it goes back to what you talked about a couple of times. It consists of our goals, our hope, and our belief. And when we still hold on to our old identity, those aren't available to the people, but they still hold on to them. And if they would slowly start to break out and would realize there's new goals I can have, there's new hopes I can have, there's new beliefs I can have. And once they start believing that, or when they start grasping those items, they can start to reborn their new identity.
This is so true. It also links up, Ido, to what you're saying as well. Change is part of life. And if you learn how to accept the fact that you won't always be the 50-year-old in your body that you have now, but as a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old and more, you accept the change and you say, okay, how am I different now? And what am I doing about it? And it's the what you do about it that counts, because it's not enough to say, keep moving. If you don't move, you're not with it. You have to be with yourself. And the with it means I can't undertake the same physical things I used to do. I can't lift my leg as high, but I can do it a little lower. I can still lift that leg. And so it doesn't matter how you ski in a different way. This is me. This is the new me. I've changed. This is my new way of skiing. Good example. You're still being active, and change is activity.
Yes,
And you feel it.
that's excellent.
And it's how you look at it. This is the whole point. How do you see? If you want, I think your example of the skiing, if you want to put on those skis and say, well, I'm still doing this. It's not I'm still doing this. I can do this. So you move a little, but you did it.
Yes.
It's a motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Excellent.
really excellent. And what would you, I'm thinking about a person who just undergone a stroke. What would be the first thing to do? You come out of hospital, and then you get this load that was just tossed upon you. What do you do now?
Well, it's difficult for a lot of stroke patients to deal with all the changes that goes on with their life. And they're still trying to wrap their mind around that it's changing. So they're still in the grieving process. Maybe they realize it, probably they don't. And there's all changes that are happening, and they get out. Maybe they have some outpatient therapy they go to. I went to outpatient 3 days a week, and that was my, it was important. And really, because I noticed that I really, really couldn't do every day, because I had to rest and sleep and heal. And that's why it's important that you have this time. But anyways, that went on almost 5 months, and that was a process so I could start to heal and still try to integrate what I was learning. Basically, I was relearning what I used to know. I had to do that, but I had to take it from a different perspective.
The tempo changed. Timing. Yeah. How does one learn? It applies to everything in life, to work with change, because there's also what you brought about, the point about grieving the loss of something. It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so painful to lose the physical part. The emotional part is what the balance is upset here. And I think that you also see this with the families, the people around you. You have to work as a unit, because the most, I think, the vulnerable position you're in is, how do you see yourself, but how are you accepted or rejected in a negative or positive way by the family members?
A very good point, Marlene. I hope for the patients that when they find that their family isn't so accepting of them, they have to accept themselves. And they have to really, it takes strength. It takes emotional and mental strength to realize people around you are having difficulty with the stroke, and they may not brace too much. You would like them to. You have to realize that it doesn't matter. It matters what I think and I feel. So I will have to not ignore, but focus inward than outward.
Yeah, you have to deal with it, and
Yes.
it's a big challenge because you see it in the medical, any kind of medical situation, but especially when it's the loss. Is it going to be temporary, or is it going to be more difficult to get to a different stage? And I think, again, without support within yourself, how do you regenerate this support? Here again, it's the group. The group helps. And I think your program of you saying 13 weeks, it's intensive, but you have to time it so that it's consistent. And this is the answer to the success of it. Give yourself the hope and the time to recover and to work, to constantly work at it.
And Marlene, it's so important. They realize maybe I don't get the support I want from my family or my friends, but they can use these stroke groups and they can get the support they need, they want.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what it comes to me, to my mind is that maybe in order to serve my clients better is, I don't know if there is groups for people who have fallen, and maybe also there is all of what we've talked about relates also to people who fell and people who got injured, and now they're thinking about what the next stage is and accept the change that led to the fall. I think it is something I never thought about. Just came to my mind now.
And I'm going to shift a little bit and talk about something that Marlene said, temporary or permanent. One of the facets of resilience is, am I accepting it as temporary, or am I saying it's permanent? And I would challenge anybody that says permanent because they're still alive. So if you're alive, it's temporary, and there's a chance that you will do something different about this situation.
You know what, Brent? You just say, go back to being a child. I'll show you. Yes, I can. And you do it. You do as much as you can. Okay, it may not be, you won't run, but you sure can walk. Oh my goodness, look who is this?
That's Sparky, and he was walking around, and I just figured out I just have to pick him up because otherwise he's going to keep bugging me. He's a 14-pound rat terrier mix, and he's fun.
You remind me of my cat. This is my cat. And one of the lessons with Ido, I think way back when, the cat, he does beautiful stretches and I can't compete with them. And he ran across the screen. I said, I'll show you later. I can try.
Well, I love how Sparky stretches every time. He gets up, he stretches always. And
he's your mentor.
Yes, he is. Yes. But it's important that they understand that there can be a way they can do something different.
Definitely. 100%.
Can you share with us? I've checked your Facebook group and page. And can you share with us some recommendations how to maybe avoid a stroke, what needs to be done in order to prevent it?
Well, I can do three ways. It's important. Some people don't want to hear if they drink alcohol. They have to be moderate or reduce it. And that's number one, which is important. In fact, when I had the strokes, I decided I wasn't going to drink any more alcohol because I had killed enough brain cells over the years, and I decided I did a intensive program with the stroke in 2 days, killed a lot of cells, brain cells, and I said, I think I'm done for my life. So I don't advocate quitting. People have to make their own decision. I know that it's tempting to reach for alcohol instead of dealing with the pain and with their dealing with the stroke. So, or there are other challenges in their life. The number two is maintain or reduce their blood pressure. So that means, do they know their blood pressure? If you ask somebody, would they know it? So first thing they need to know is what's their blood pressure and how can I go and get it? And I talk about 3 ways they can do that. The simple or the most accurate is go to your doctor's office and ask someone to take your blood pressure. So they'll use the most accurate way that you can do. So you find out your blood pressure. If it's normal, great. If it's high, then you need to do something changes. So I talk about what you can do that. And the last, you need to move more. And you say, what? What do I mean move more? So basically, get a dog. It's great because I have to walk with him every day. That's good. In fact, we adopted him as an adult. So we've had him for 10 years. And over the last 2 or 3 years, he just doesn't walk as much as I want to walk. It's good that he is light, so I can carry him and walk a little bit more. And I see funny glances from the drivers when they go by. They look and they say, what's going on? But when you move more, and you can start with a goal to move more 5 minutes today. And that can be, you can stretch, and that's a movement. And you can stretch for 5 minutes and just stretch your arms and do the stretches, and you're done. And you can do it tomorrow. And just doing those 3 things is so helpful for somebody who's worried about having a stroke.
And before the stroke, did you drink a lot, or did you not move?
No, I was very active, and I worked out at least 3 times a week. So, I drank socially, and we were part of my job as the hospital administrator was recruiting other doctors to come to us. So once or twice a month we go out, and we would of course drink as a part of that. And the other thing, it's interesting because when I look at my life, I wasn't the stereotypical person that often gets a stroke. And but when I look at the statistics, up to 80% of strokes could be prevented.
Wow.
But when it comes down to it, a lot of times people don't want to change their lifestyle. They just will take the chance that they don't have a stroke, or they won't have a stroke down the road. Just like Ido has the same issues. Somebody says, I won't fall. It was like last year, I was out walking on the ice with my dog, and I slipped on the ice and I fell and I broke my leg. And it was a fluke experience, but it told me Ido has, Ido has the idea we need to follow him because when I fell like a tree instead of going down the slide. And if I would have gone down the slide, I suspect I would have just been a little bruised as opposed to the break. Oh, well, I learned, and now I know in the future I will go down the slide.
Yeah.
And also, I used to talk about the 5%, but in the book, Atomic Habits, James Clear, if I'm remembering correctly,
Larry?
he's talking about, he reduces it to the 2%. Only 2% of the people are trying to change their habits in order to have better life.
Wow.
And I think that it is crucial to be in those 2%, because I think all of what we said about life is a change, constant change, and we need to change with them and not to hold back to the change, but to accept the change. And with accepting the change, it means to train to our next goal. That I think it's aligned perfectly to what you said. And then once we are in alignment with our goals and we prepare ourselves, we have much better life. And if our goal is to have independent life without getting restricted because of an injury, so we need to know how to fall better, and we need to know how to prevent the next stroke, because there's always a possibility of the next stroke. So we need to be active, we need to move more, to take care of our blood pressure, to consume alcohol moderately or not. But it's things that we constantly need to take into account, the changes that we need to do with our age and with our circumstances. I think it's so important. 2%, it's horrible statistic.
But Ido, I think it's hope, because with time we can hope that the 2% will go to 3%, and the 3% will go to 4%. And if they don't change, we'll still impact the portion that wants different for their life than they have before.
And I think it's a matter of awareness, because I think almost 100% of the population does not know that you can learn how to fall. 100% of the population do not know, almost 100% do not know that you can start the ways in order to prevent the stroke. So it has to do with awareness. So this is why I'm so grateful for Marlene to join me with this podcast, because we can get to better crowd, to more crowd, in order to be more aware of all these issues. And in order to talk about, I think what Marlene is saying about the change is so important.
Mhm.
We need to accept it. We need to prepare for it. We need to do it. We need to accept it. And as Marlene says, just do it. Whatever you think, just start doing, start acting, start improving your life. Do not wait for the next day. This is something
Yes.
that I keep talking about. And it's so important.
Yes.
Lovely. So I think we can conclude this episode, and we'll see what I'm sure we will be hosting you more in the future. And would you be so kind to tell our audience how can they reach you, and how can they get a hold of you and get your programs?
The easiest way they can find out about me is two ways. If they want to attend my future webinar, they can point their web browser to tinyurl.com hyphen stroke, and that will take them to the site. Or they can go to my bio in the Facebook or Instagram, and but always point to this. It's put in your web browser linktr.ee /stroke recovery, and that will also get you to me.
So what of course we will do, I will take these links and put them at the bottom of this podcast so people can find you. And I think it is so important. So can we conclude? Anybody else, anything else to say for the moment? So,
just accept and embrace change.
Thank you so much, Brent. It's been really fascinating and so inspiring. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation and join us, and Marlene and myself. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Marlene, for hosting it with me. It's been wonderful. I like your questions so much.
It's been a pleasure, and I think it's been highly entertaining with the light touch that Brent gave us. And I look forward to looking into more information about not only strokes, but motivation on keep moving. And let's have fun while we're doing it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for a lovely idea that seems to be growing. And Ido, I think we're on our way to having more curious programs ahead.
Thank you so much. So thank you very much for listening to the First Class Agers, the podcast for the curious, fun-loving agers. Please share our podcast with everybody that you know that might be interested. Thumbs up and subscribe so you'll get the hold of our new episodes. See you in the next episode.